Okay, let's unpack this. We are living through a really exciting period in electronic music production right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like we finally moved past, the simple reissues of classic gear
Hmm.
and are instead seeing instruments that successfully merge that immediate tactile pleasure of hardware with the sheer computational power we expect from a modern machine.
It's more than just a tech jump, though. I think it's a philosophical crossroads.
Yeah,
For years, the market was split, right? You had the purists and the digital producers.
right.
But now these high-end rhythm machines, they aren't just offering features. They're defining entire workflows. You're
Wow.
kind of forced to choose a philosophy when you buy a new device.
And that is our deep dive mission today. You shared three pivotal devices with us, the current titans of the rhythm machine world, and they are all fundamentally distinct.
Completely different.
We are looking at the Roland TR-1000, the Akai MPC Live 3, and the Korg Drumlog.
They're rivals in the marketplace, yes, but I think more importantly, they represent three completely different answers to the question, how should modern electronic music be made?
Okay, so we have to establish those three paradigms right out of the gate so you can understand the context for all the features we're about to discuss.
Good idea.
First up, the Roland TR-1000. We're calling that the instrumentalist paradigm.
Hmm.
This machine, it just prioritizes analog purity, tactile control, and live performance. It's an instrument that's designed to be played.
Then you've got the Akai MPC Live 3. That's the computational workstation. Its goal is singular, to be the true DW killer,
Right.
to achieve full autonomous studio production. So, sampling, synthesis, arrangement, all without ever touching a computer, the whole studio in one box.
And finally, the Korg Drumlug. This one's the hybrid disruptor. It's the machine that aggressively challenges that high-end market by leveraging a really accessible price point and, critically, an open-source development model. It's the ultimate budget champion, in a way.
And understanding these differences is just. It's absolutely critical for procurement. If you want performance rigidity and sound purity, you lean Roland. If you prioritize finishing a whole track in the box, you look at Akai.
And if you want cheap access to analog and community-driven evolution,
You choose Korg.
yeah.
Exactly. Each machine defines its own artistic mandate.
Okay, so let's start with the one carrying the most history, the Roland TR-1000. I mean, when you invoke the TR designation, you are summoning the DNA of the 808 and 909.
The very foundations of house, techno, hip-hop, it's heavy baggage.
It really is.
And the weight of that legacy is precisely why this release is so monumental. For years, Roland just avoided building new, genuine analog drum machines. They relied really heavily on their proprietary ACB modeling.
Right, analog circuit behavior. Can you just quickly define what ACB is for anyone who might not be familiar with that jargon?
Sure. ACB modeling is a digital process where engineers meticulously recreate the electronic behavior of analog components. So right down to the slight imperfections, the voltage sag, the component drift.
All the little quirks.
All the quirks, but using digital circuitry. So it sounds incredibly close to the original, but at the end of the day, it's still a digital simulation.
But the TR-1000 is this monumental reversal because it embraces genuine analog circuitry for its core sounds for the first time in over 40 years.
Exactly. And their philosophy here, which they're marketing as Tomorrow Returns, emphasizes this is not a reissue.
No.
It's a composite benchmark machine. They didn't just copy one dusty old unit.
And what's fascinating about that, and this goes right to the heart of that instrumentalist philosophy, is the engineering process. We know they consulted with the literal pioneers, Detroit legends like Carl Craig and Underground Resistance. They didn't ask, what did your 808 sound like? They asked, what is the idealized memory of a perfect 808 kick?
They were hunting for the platonic ideal of the sound.
Yes.
And the result is what they call the hybrid trinity architecture.
Yeah.
You have the modernized analog core. That's 16 tones with genuine analog circuits, but these circuits aren't stuck in the past. They have wider pitch ranges, deeper decay envelopes.
And that circuit bent capability.
Right, which allows for sounds that are punchier and more modern than the vintage units, while still having that physical, air-moving low end that you need for a massive sound system.
And the hybrid part comes in because they know pure analog limits your versatility. So they've kept the digital complement. ACB modeling for the TR-606, 707, the classic CR-78.
Plus, they've added simplified FM synthesis for that sharp, aggressive metallic timbre that really defined techno in the 2010s.
And in a nod to how we work now, they included SP-style sampling.
Yeah, they integrated a sampling engine derived from the SP404M KII, which is Roland's current powerhouse groove box. So this means the TR-1000 isn't just a sound module, it's a complete standalone groove box. It's capable of direct stereo recording, resampling, all of that.
But if the goal is to make a machine that is played like an instrument, the centerpiece has to be that performance feature, the MORPH fader. How exactly does that work, and why is it so defining?
This is the standout innovation that just screams instrumentalist. You define two completely distinct states for the entire machine. Let's call them state A and state B.
Okay.
So state A might be a clean, dry, straight, four-on-the-floor loop. State B could be heavily distorted, the kick pitch is dropped way down, the filter on a clap is closed, effects are maxed out.
So we're taking macro control over almost every single parameter.
Precisely. And moving that horizontal fader physically interpolates between state A and state B in real time. It's not just fading the volume.
No.
It's morphing the sound engine's whole identity with a single gesture.
Yeah.
It transforms you from a programmer, sequencing notes, into a performer, building real-time tension on stage. That ability to do radical complex transitions without pre-programmed automation is what makes it unique.
That makes the $2,699 price tag a bit more understandable.
It's a specialized instrument.
It is. It's for the stage or the big studio. However, we have to acknowledge the reality of early adoption here, particularly the initial criticism about the firmware stability.
That's a huge point. For a machine positioned as a studio centerpiece, its primary flaw was sync latency, when you slaved it to an external MIDI clock or an analog clock.
So when you try to integrate it with your other synths or modular gear?
Exactly. The timing was described by users as shaky. And for professional techno producers, where rigid timing is just paramount, shaky sync is a critical failure.
And there were those baffling omissions, too. The lack of a dedicated mid-tom or conga channel. I mean, that's standard on so many vintage TR machines. It confused purists.
Yeah, that was strange.
And the desktop librarian software for managing your samples, it's standalone. It doesn't function as a VST or AU plugin inside your DAW, which just limits seamless integration.
True. But physically, it compensates. It is built like a tank, a 5.5 kilogram metal chassis designed to be pounded on stage. And the 10 individual assignable outputs are essential for professional multi-tracking. It lets engineers process each sound separately on a mixing console. It really respects the high-end studio environment.
So if Roland is looking backward and optimizing for analog purity, Akai is making a hard pivot toward computational autonomy. Let's move to the Akai MPC Live 3, the definition of the computational workstation.
What's so fascinating here is Akai's clear strategy.
Yeah.
The elimination of the laptop. This is the dial-less singularity. And to get there, the Live 3 is powered by Serious Muscle, a Generation 2 8-core processor and 8 gigs of RAM.
That rivals the power of a budget to mid-range laptop.
It's completely unheard of in a standalone hardware groove box.
They need that power, and we'll get to why in the software, but first let's look at the hardware interaction. The MPC pads. The classic 16-pad grid is back, but it's fundamentally different.
This is a genuine haptic revolution. The pads now use 3D sensing technology. So they detect pressure, the z-axis, which is your standard velocity.
Right.
But they also detect your finger's position along the x and y-axis.
So tell us how that translates into making music, because that sounds really specialized.
Okay, think of the pad not just as a trigger, but as a miniature trackpad that also plays a sound.
Ah.
So you strike the pad to trigger a synth chord. You don't just hold the note. You can then rock your finger forward on the y-axis to open the filter cutoff, and then slide it sideways on the x-axis to modulate pitch or add vibrato.
So it's MPE-like expressivity?
It's essentially MPE MIDI polyphonic expression, which was previously confined to specialized controllers. It transforms the MPC into a melodic instrument, not just a rhythmic one.
That immediately gives the composer so much more performance nuance. Okay, now for the software powerhouse, the MPC3 operating system. The feature that just screams computational brute force is real-time stem separation.
This is the game-changer feature. It leverages the specialized power of the 8-core NPU, or neural processing unit.
So to be clear, the NPU is a chip specifically optimized for running machine learning models. This isn't just a faster standard CPU.
Exactly. A standard CPU would just choke trying to do this in real time.
The MPU allows a producer to sample a fully mixed track, a vinyl record, an old cassette, whatever, and instantly separate the drums, bass line, vocals, and harmonic elements onto 16 separate pads. Which is just. Historically, hardware samplers could only rely on frequency filtering, which often left nasty artifacts.
Oh, yeah.
This is true neural isolation. The implication for sampling culture is just enormous. It means way less time manually slicing or EQing.
And much more time creating. Absolutely. And what's more, the Live 3 supports up to 32 simultaneous instances of its internal synths. It comes preloaded with powerful plugins like Jura, which is a very credible Juno emulation, and OPX4, a complex FM synth.
So the MPC truly functions as a rack of virtual synthesizers in a box.
It really does.
And for arrangement, it's flexible. It has a classic, fully featured linear arranger view for precise sequencing, but it also supports a non-linear clip-launching matrix, very similar to Ableton Live's session view.
So it's equally suited for studio arrangement and live performance triggering. And as the designated studio brain, its connectivity is formidable. The USB-C port supports class-compliant audio and MIDI, so it can host external audio interfaces.
By expanding its I/O up to 32 channels.
Right. Plus, it has 8 CV gate outputs for seamless integration with modular synths. And crucially, this $1,699 machine is designed for movement. It has a built-in rechargeable battery that lasts 3 to 4 hours. It's the ultimate utility good.
Okay, we've covered luxury, heritage, and computational utility. Now we move to the Korg drum log, the hybrid disruptor, where the core narrative is all about democratized access and open possibility.
The drum log is really defined by its follow-to-market reality. As prices just crashed aggressively, you can frequently find it for between $300 and $515.
Wow.
And that price drop transformed it from a niche, mid-range unit into an unbeatable budget hybrid. It gives you access to core tech usually reserved for way more expensive gear.
And for that price, you're still getting genuine analog synthesis. The hybrid architecture includes 4 true analog voices for those fundamental sounds: kick, snare, and the toms.
And these were designed by Junichi Ikuchi, who has an incredible pedigree. He engineered the ARP 2600M reissue.
So that analog core ensures the foundational rich and thick weight is there.
It is. And the remaining 6 voices are digital or sample-based for things like hi-hats and cymbals using user-expandable samples.
Yeah.
But the secret weapon, the philosophical difference, is that multi-engine slot.
Right. The multi-engine is Korg's Log SDK, the software development kit, which is an open-source platform. So unlike the closed ecosystems of Roland and Akai, this means the machine's true longevity is based on the developer community.
And what's fascinating is seeing this machine evolve beyond its factory state. The unit shipped with a pretty basic digital synth called Nano, but a recent firmware update, leveraging the community's work, turned it into a fully fleshed-out dual oscillator synth with ring modulation and band reject filters. Because it's open source, you can just load custom third-party synth engines and effects into that slot.
So the savvy producer sees the drum log not just as a drum machine, but as this versatile, community-powered groove box capable of complex bass lines or melodic leads.
Totally. We're seeing community-developed ports like the Riffline Supersaw and advanced digital FM engines popping up on GitHub. The potential is, theoretically, limitless. It's constrained only by the internal CPU and the ingenuity of the coders.
That open potential is the real value. But we have to address the trade-offs that were required to hit that budget price.
Of course.
The chassis is aluminum, but the screen is a tiny OLED display, and a lot of functions are hidden behind shared knob controls. That creates friction.
Oh, yeah. If you're using this thing live, diving into a tiny screen menu while trying to adjust a parameter with a shared knob, it can just kill your flow. It's nothing like the immediate dedicated control in the TR-1000.
And the sequencer is a pretty standard 64-step, right? It has motion sequencing, which is nice, but it lacks the deep complexity of Roland's sequencer or the sheer arrangement flexibility of the MPC.
It's a classic drum machine sequencer, and that's it. It definitely embodies the tinkerer's philosophy. It invites deep exploration and rewards you if you're willing to spend time coding or installing community packages. It's a phenomenal bargain good, but it asks for your time in return for that low price.
So this brings us to the comparative synthesis. We have $2,699 for the TR-1000, $1,699 for the MPC Live 3, and sub $515 for the drum log. Those 3 price points define the target market so clearly.
Absolutely. The TR-1000 is a Veblen good luxury item, where the demand is partly driven by the high price itself. It signifies status, heritage, uncompromising build. You are paying for analog prestige.
The MPC Live 3 is the ultimate utility good. It's the most logical financial investment for a producer starting from scratch. It replaces a high-end laptop, an audio interface, a rack of synth.
It offers the highest performance to cost ratio for a complete production environment.
And the Drumlog is the democratization of hardware, the bargain good. It provides access to real analog and cutting-edge digital synthesis at a price that usually gets you a purely digital toy. Let's focus on the actual workflow differences. What kind of producer is each machine best suited for?
The TR-1000 demands the instrumentalist workflow. You're relying on muscle memory, dedicated knobs, faders for real-time sound sculpting. It thrives on tightly looped genres like techno and house, where the focus is on evolving a single pattern subtly over minutes.
Whereas the MPC Live 3 forces a more compositional, almost cerebral workflow. You can perform with it, but so much of the creative process involves that touchscreen for precise editing, complex sampling, and detailed linear arrangement.
So it's best for genres where the arrangement is king hip-hop, R&B, even complex electronic scoring.
And the Drumlog fosters the tinkerer's workflow.
It's all about experimentation. The creative sweet spot is the juxtaposition of that raw foundational analog kick with a complex community-coded digital synth engine that you're using for a bass line or a texture. It's perfect for IDM, experimental electronica, left-field bass, genres that thrive on unexpected texture.
We have to revisit the most impactful features that define these philosophical lines. Let's talk about the MORPH fader on the TR-1000 again versus standard automation on the MPC.
The difference is performance versus precision. The MORPH fader is pure, dynamic, immediate, performative macro control. You are shaping the tension in the room in real time, like a DJ using a crossfader to define the entire sound.
While MPC automation, as precise as it is static. You draw the lines into the sequencer grid. You just can't get that level of spontaneous, holistic sound mutation mid-performance.
You can.
And conversely, let's revisit the MPC's stems separation. This is the feature that truly separates the computational future from the analog past.
Absolutely. It's a significant leap over historical sampling.
Right.
We can emphasize enough that the neural engine allows for true isolation. The historical method was often just crude frequency filtering, a high-pass filter to remove the bass or something.
Right.
Now, you can take a complex, saturated vinyl drum break, perfectly remove the existing kick drum using AI, and then replace it with a modern synthesized kick, all without ever leaving the hardware. That redefines speed and quality in sampling.
And finally, the hidden long-term value of the Drumlog. It's not in the hardware box itself.
No, its value is entirely in those GitHub repositories. When users are porting sophisticated synth engines, like the algorithms behind mutable instruments braids into that multi-engine slot, they're essentially unlocking capabilities Korg never advertised.
They're evolving the device constantly.
Exactly. They're ensuring that a sub-$515 machine released in 2026 can potentially run synthesis engines that won't even exist until 2028.
So the market has completely bifurcated. We have the luxury heritage instrument optimizing sound purity, the comprehensive workstation optimizing computational autonomy, and the democratized hybrid optimizing community-driven evolution.
And each machine succeeds brilliantly because it knows exactly which philosophical lane it's in. The gear dictates the workflow.
You know, what stands out to me the most if we look toward the next generation of gear is that Drumlog open source model. If the Drumlog, through the log SDK, can evolve based purely on the ingenuity of the developer community, not just Korg's limited R&D budget, what implications does this open garden have for the tightly closed ecosystems of market leaders like Roland and Akai? When you purchase hardware in 2026, what level of community-driven evolution should producers now expect as a baseline? And how much longer can these larger companies really justify locking down their digital infrastructure?